Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the Evernest VP of Marketing and seasoned real estate investor, no other than Mr. Spencer Sutton.
Hey, Daniel, how are you? Thanks for having me on your podcast.
I'm fabulous, Mr. Spencer, and welcome to Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes, my name is Spencer Sutton, and I am, like Daniel said, I'm the VP of Marketing, and I am in Birmingham, Alabama. This is our corporate office where we operate, and we nationwide we have around 50 different markets that we operate in, and we manage around 20,000 doors, 20,000 properties across the country. Most of those are single family residential with some small multifamily mixed in. So I lead our team from the marketing perspective, and that's about it.
Awesome indeed. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today, Mr. Spencer, let's talk about the power of content, marketing, and real estate investing and beyond. How does content marketing uniquely benefit a real estate investor compared to traditional marketing?
Well, for us, when we thought about marketing in general, like marketing our services, we started thinking about what we wish we knew when we started our real estate journey. And when we started back in 2004, I started buying and selling rental properties or buying and selling houses as an investor. A friend of mine, Matthew Whitaker, started also buying and selling properties. And so when he started Evernest in 2008, and then when I joined in 2014 and we started talking about marketing, we were really just like, what do we wish we would have known? Plus, we were seeing so many mistakes made in the marketplace from investors who were from out of country. Many of them were from California, some of them from different parts of the world. They were buying properties in our market, and they were making all of these mistakes. And so we started thinking, well, there's one way we could go about this. We could market our services and say, hey, if you need a property manager, come to Evernest, check us out, give us opportunity to manage your property. We've done this before. But instead of doing that, what we decided to do was we decided to lean into content marketing. And really what that was, hey, if I were starting all over today, what would I need to know to make the best decisions for me in my real estate journey? So for us, content marketing was all about building trust and developing trust within the market. And so we started with blogs. Then we moved to videos. We had a YouTube channel early on where we were just posting videos about Birmingham real estate. And then we started a podcast back in 2000. We started a local podcast called the Birmingham Real Estate Investor, but then we switched that over after a few years to the Evernest Real Estate Investor podcast. And for us, it was really all about building trust. And that was, to us, the best marketing we could ever do. Is if we can help people achieve what they want to achieve, if we can help them, then we'll become the trusted source, and we'll eventually get what we want down the road if we help enough people succeed.
Trust indeed, definitely trust. What mindset shift do investors need to embrace to succeed with content marketing?
Yeah, so if somebody wanted to come on and think about content marketing as a real estate investor, and I've got several friends who do this really, really well, I would just really be thinking about how can you add value and help people avoid mistakes. There's a lot of content out there, Daniel, that is probably more harmful than helpful to real estate investors. And so when I think about creating content as a real estate investor and for real estate investors, I'm always thinking about what is going to benefit them, what is going to, what's something they're not going to be thinking about. And just for instance, I was talking with a real estate investor in San Diego the other day, and he asked me about Section 8 investing, and this is government housing. And he said, do you think Section 8 investing is better for an investor, or do you think private pay? And I said, well, it really depends what your goals are. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what you have to think about is if you have a real estate if you have a resident who's living in that property and they're a Section 8 resident, they're going to be living in that property more. So you're going to have more maintenance and repairs. You're going to have more toilets flushed because most of the time, or a lot of the time, they may not have a job that they're leaving the house. They're literally living in there 24/7. And so that type of, for us, it was like all about helping investors think through those decisions. And I've seen really, really great investors also begin to share their wisdom, because there's it's just a really, really unique and helpful community out there, the people who are doing it really, really well.
What's the biggest misconception about content marketing in the real estate, Mr. Spencer?
The biggest misconception probably is that I just think, Daniel, I really think there are a lot of gurus out there that are trying to sell really a dream. And so some of the content out there doesn't paint the full picture. Right. And so it sounds great when you think about buying an apartment or buying a single family residential piece of property and having what they call passive income. And so a lot of the content out there just kind of glosses over all of the hard work, all of the steps that you really have to go through to do this really, really well. And so that's why we think our content, we want to be very transparent, very honest, and we don't want to paint a picture that's not really accurate or realistic.
Definitely realistic indeed. So let's talk about the strategy and targeting. How do you identify and create content for your ideal real estate investor client?
So the first thing that we do is we think about, really, we need to determine who we're creating content for. And so we have two primary, what we call avatars, right? And so these avatars are our target market. And so one avatar is who we call Susie and Steve homeowner. They are people who have a house. Maybe they inherited the house. Maybe they can't sell the house, but they still have to move. Or maybe they just don't want to sell their house because they have a low interest rate. So they want to hold on to that house, and they're moving to a different city, so they need to rent that house. This is the person that you can call the accidental landlord. They're one house, one owner. They have a completely different mindset. And so marketing to them is different. The messaging is very different. You really have to address their concerns. And their fears are that they get a resident that doesn't pay, who tears up their property, and maybe they make a mistake when it comes to underwriting. They break the law, a law that they didn't really even know about. So some content is geared towards them. The other content is geared towards our other avatar, which is Mike and Mary the investor. And Mike and Mary the investor are trying to build a portfolio of homes. And so they are concerned with other things. They're really thinking about cash on cash return or net operating income. They're concerned with growing a portfolio and returns on their money, versus the homeowner or the accidental landlord is really just concerned about getting their house back in good shape. And so content, we create separate content for each of those based on what their concerns are, their dreams, their aspirations. And so that's really how we think about the ideal client from a real estate perspective.
Mr. Spencer, should real estate investors focus on a niche topics or broad appeal, and why?
I believe if an investor is really good at one thing, then they absolutely should focus on that very niche thing. So I'm thinking there's a guy out there. His name is Scott Jelnick. He's an investor. He focuses on what he calls slow flip real estate, which is really like owner financing. He's buying properties, he's selling them to an end user, he's holding the note, and he's getting a return on his investment. He has niched down. That's all he talks about. Other people, maybe other real estate people, have a kind of a broad approach because they're trying to cast a broad net. Maybe they're trying to sell a course or something like that. So they're talking in more generalities. I tend to like when people really dial into what they're very good at. And so some of the things that we always are going to talk about is rental real estate. We're going to talk all about building portfolios of real estate. That's our main niche, and that's essentially what we focus on. However, I do have guests on our podcast who do a variety of different things, so it's fun to talk to them and get their expertise. But if you're a real estate investor and you want to create content, I 100% would think that niching down and speaking about one thing specifically would be your best bet.
Let's talk about the platform and distribution. Which platforms delivered the best ROI for real estate investors?
From a content perspective,
yes,
I believe that probably I would imagine YouTube and TikTok are very good. So we've done some YouTube is kind of where our focus has shifted. We have the podcast, we are writing blogs, but we put a heavy emphasis on our YouTube channel. We have probably for the past 10 or 11 months trying to grow that. I have a friend who's an investor and he creates content on TikTok, and he has he just started doing it for fun and really just going out and showing the properties that he was buying, the condition he was buying them in, whether they had squatters in them or what happened to the property or whatever, or how he made money on the property. And he amassed a pretty good following quickly, and then actually bought some properties, got some deals just through his social media content. So I think TikTok has some really good appeal if you're good at more short form, and then YouTube if you can do really well with long form video. Even though shorts are good too. We love doing shorts and have had some pretty decent success with shorts driving traffic to more long form content.
Mr. Spencer, what is your take on paid ads or versus organic content marketing for real estate?
Wow, we do both, and I think that paid ads has its place. So we primarily run Google ads that have high intent, right? So these are people who are looking for services that we offer, and so we're definitely out there fishing for those people. What we have found is the paid ads, while it's easy to turn them on, it's easy to get leads, the leads are just not all that great. They're not as good as organic content leads. And the reason is I would much rather pick up the phone and speak with somebody who has listened to 3 or 4 of our podcasts or watched 3 or 4 of our videos or read 3 or 4 of our blogs. It's a much easier conversation because they feel like they already know you or know about you a good bit. Paid ads is not that way at all. The close percentage, we track all of this. The close percentage on those deals is probably half or less than half what it is for our organic leads.
Mr. Spencer, as a podcast host and Ernst VP of Marketing, What are your short-term and long-term goals?
Well, our long-term goals are to help the company. We play our part, so everything kind of rolls up to the top. We have to ask ourselves from the marketing department? We have to ask ourselves, what are the company goals, the company targets? And I know that the company targets is for us to get to 250,000 properties under management by the end of the decade. So my part in that, as I'm leading the marketing department, my job is to help us think through how we're going to contribute to that. And we have found that the best way that our team can do this is together to create the content that drives results. And so we have so that would be long term, is like, how many leads can we produce? What can we do to help get the company to 250,000 doors? And quite frankly, that's going to change from from year to year as to what our role in that is. We just have doubled down on content, because when we look at paid ads versus content, we're producing maybe about the same, and our customer acquisition cost with content is arguably less than it is with paid ads, and plus the deals are better. They trust us more. So short term, what does that mean? Short term, really short term, we're thinking about this year and how we help the company get to 25,000, 26,000 doors under management, which we're at 20,000 right now. So what part do we play in that? And so for us, it's all about looking. We every single week we're looking at our metrics. We're determining how we're doing. We're looking at content, what's working, what's not working, and then we will course correct if we need to. And so that's kind of it's a long answer to your short question.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Spencer. I'm looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
I think that more, like, this world needs more very transparent content creators. And so my advice would be, if you have an idea, something you're passionate about, just start to talk about it with other people. Start to record maybe even some short form content. The way I did it was I started writing first, writing blog articles. Then I started recording videos, and they were really, really bad. And then I started recording podcasts, and they weren't any good either. But after probably 40, 50 different podcasts talking about what you love, you'll find your voice. And to me, it becomes a lot more natural. And then what also, I think, Daniel, what it does is, then when you're consuming content, when you're learning, you're always thinking about, how am I going to reteach this? Right? It's not just about being a consumer, it's about being a creator. And so how can I not just be in the consumer role? Because a lot of people will sit there and look at their phone and consume content, but how can I then turn my passion and what I love into to something that I can create for others?
Definitely. And thank you for that advice, Mr. Spencer. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yes, I mean, I've got several books, but some of the best books, other than spiritual books that I absolutely are, the top for me, the books that really influence my journey would be books like Good to Great. This is one of the first books when I joined Evernest. I started reading. It's like, how do we build a great company? The next book was Traction, which is all about the EOS model. If I'm building a company, we need to have an operating system. And so that is the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. That book was phenomenal. Another one that we read that we love is 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, because as we're building a team, we really want the culture to be one of transparency, openness, And then I'd say the last book, I mean, there's real estate books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I read, which are fantastic. But I think another book that I absolutely loved and we love as a company is The One Thing. And it's by Gary Keller, and who created Keller Williams. So he is a real estate person, but he wrote a book called The One Thing, which is just phenomenal, talking about just the power of focus. And so those are some of the books that I've read that have really inspired me on this journey. And as a matter of fact, the whole company reads these books. They don't all read Good to Great, but most everybody in our company, which we have like 600 people on the team, they all read the books when they get onboarded into the company.
Well, thank you for that recommended books, Mr. Spencer. And how can content marketing drive partnership or joint ventures in real estate?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I mean, just as a matter of fact, just recording, I went out and found a local real estate investor to join me on my podcast as a co-host, because he is out there every day grinding and buying deals and flipping houses and doing all kinds of things. And so I got him on the podcast, and man, it's amazing, because now I have him out trying to find me a deal. And so in that way, it developed relationships that will benefit both of us. I'm going to probably buy a property from him. Another way is we just started talking to all kinds of people as we were interviewing them, hard money lenders, investor-friendly agents. And so it's just really interesting. Once I started creating content, whether that be audio or video, it really opened up doors to meet a lot of people. And from that, just naturally relationships have formed, and deals have been done.
Definitely. And what's the most underrated way to monetize content beyond direct leads?
What's the most underrated way to
monetize
content other than direct leads? I think content is fantastic for not only like instantaneous leads, but I also think it's fantastic for nurturing leads. And so even if you let's just say somebody did reach out and they didn't end up doing business with you, what we like to do is we like to keep giving them content. So we put them on a newsletter that is a very, very helpful. It's a customer-centric newsletter that's giving them a lot of very helpful information. So we think that content is a great way just to nurture and stay in front of people. And you know what? We also believe that it may not be that person that needs us, but they may have a friend or a friend of a friend that they would forward something of ours to them and say, hey, you might want to check these people out. They seem to really know what they're doing, and they genuinely care about the people that they're serving. So I think that would be just another way that we would use content just to stay in front of people. And it's a great source for referrals.
So how will AI tools like ChatGPT video generators change content marketing for investors?
Yeah, great question. I do think it changed, it's already changed the kind of the written content piece, because you have a lot of people out there using AI. I think that probably the biggest, I mean, it's obviously going to change, right? So I'm probably going to be able to have this idea in my head, and I'm going to be able to say, you know what? I know that there's 5 different ways that real estate investors lose money on a deal, and I want to create a video about that. I'm going to be able to type certain prompts into an AI generator and come out with a video that's probably within the next 1 or 2 years going to be an incredible how-to video, where I think content where I think you can set yourself apart in the whole AI conversation with content is to take people and actually show them real life examples of what's going on the field, right? So real estate is real property, and anytime you can get out to a real piece of property, walk it, talk about it, show the process for how it works, I think, and just be very transparent and authentic, I think that's going to go a lot further than AI content, even though AI content will definitely fuel and probably help a lot of content creators out there.
Mr. Spencer, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in 5th season, abstract poetry in 2nd season, and my book 101 review in 5th season too. Comedy 101 in 2nd season, and my food 101 in 5th season as well. Geography 101 in 4th season, and my baby podcast, Law 101, and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in 3rd season, and Movie 101 review and Music 101 in 4th season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its 4th season. Let's listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Spencer, what's your number one piece of advice for someone starting content marketing in a real estate today?
I would just say come up with 10 ideas that you think people need to hear and people need to understand, and then just take your phone, take your camera, and just record. I'm a big believer in that. It could be really, really bad, but practice will make perfect. And the truth is, a lot of people don't have the courage to record podcasts or record content. And so if you even start there and do that, then you're going to be ahead of most people. So that would be my advice.
Yes. For those people procrastinating, you will be ahead. And Mr. Spencer Sutton, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, I would say go check out our podcast, The Evernest Real Estate Investor, or check out our YouTube page. You can just search Evernest. We've got a few YouTube channels out there, and our website is evernest.co, evernest.co. Thank you, Daniel.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Spencer Sutton, because if you support him, for sure, more and more and more empowering business to come, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Mr. Spencer, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.